Our top stories this hour. NDC assures smooth polls in Ayawaso East as over 1,000 delegates head to the polls to elect parliamentary candidate on Saturday. Also to come, Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board says new funding model will target cocoa value addition to avoid the use of raw cocoa beans as collateral. Tonight, we continue the conversation on financing difficulties. We've got these stories and plenty others coming up over the next hour. Right now, however, are the summaries with Noura. Hi, Noura.
On external financing, President Mahama said. Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Dr. Randy Abbey, says the regulator is urgently exploring measures to support cocoa farmers as they face mounting economic pressures. And knowing that these are very difficult times for farmers, I can assure you we are looking for solutions soon, he stated. Meanwhile, President John Dramani Mahama has expressed surprise that his traditional Ghanaian attire only attracted wide attention after he visited Zambia, despite having worn it on global platforms such as the United Nations. The president revealed that he wore the same traditional attire when he addressed the United Nations last September, a moment that later drew global attention for his speech. Also, President John Dramani Mahama has reiterated his commitment to promoting Ghanaian businesses, revealing that every item of clothing he wears to work and official events is made by local designers. Speaking to journalists during his state visit to Zambia, President Mahama said his wardrobe choices reflect a deliberate effort to support local production and preserve Ghana's cultural identity. That'll be all for the summaries. Over to you, Keminni.
Well, that was quick. When are you wearing your smoke? I was expecting to see you for good
yes,
today.
I should have, but most likely tomorrow.
Very well. Thank you very much, Noura, for bringing us the summaries. Let's get into our stories now. The National Democratic Congress has assured of a smooth and orderly process as party delegates in the Ayawaso East constituency head to the polls tomorrow to elect a parliamentary candidate ahead of the March 3 by-election. At least 1,000 delegates are expected to vote, choosing one of 5 contenders seeking to lead the party in the parliamentary contest. Now, the aspirants, Hajia Amina Adams, widow of the late Member of Parliament Muhammad Nazir Toure, Baba Jamal Mohammed Ahmed, Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mohammed Ramney, Dr. Yakubu Azindo, and Najib Mohammed Sani. The contest has generated heightened anticipation and intense political activity on the ground. Meanwhile, a recent poll by Global Info Analytics suggests the race may be tilting in favor of Hajia Amina Adams. The survey places her in the lead with 58% voter preference, opening a 26-point advantage over her closest challenger, Baba Jamal Mohammed Ahmed, who trails with 32%. Now, the Electoral Commission schedules the March 3 by-election following the death of the incumbent Member of Parliament. NDC Acting Director of Elections and IT, Madi Jibril, tells 3FM the party is working closely with relevant bodies to ensure a peaceful and transparent voting process.
Now, NDC are ready for tomorrow's election. So far, there have not been any issues that any of the aspirants have raised against the process. Today, this morning, we have handed over the electoral process to the Electoral Commission. That is the ballot papers and the register of the election for the election, witnessed by the agents of the aspirants for the election. The venue of the election, NEMA cluster of schools is ready for the election. Police have been engaged and they are taking over the venue from today. So everything for the election, I would say, is ready. On the voting day, delegates are expected to come with a voter ID card or a Ghana card. They will also come with accreditation. At the entrance, they will go through the register and be checked before allowing to enter the premises. That's the where the elections will take place. After that, the delegate, if you are carrying a phone, the phone will be taken from you by the police. You go through the process of voting from the checking your name in the register, checked when if you are in, then you go through the process of picking the ballot paper and then cast your vote and leave. And this is the process of the election. As for the members of the police, we have handed over the security issues to the police, and I believe the police will do their work well tomorrow.
We just heard for Madi Jibril, who's the Director of Elections for the NDC. Now let's have a quick chat on the back of this. The man who authored that survey, Musa Dankwa, Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, is joining us now, who detailed to us that survey that puts Amina Adams in the lead. Musa, again, good evening to you. It would appear anytime I'm here, I'd have a conversation with you, but you're welcome to Hot Edition.
Thank you very much for having me.
Very well. Now let's walk through this new survey. What puts Amina Adams ahead of the other contenders in the pack?
What? Did you say what puts her ahead?
Yes.
Look, every election is different. And you cannot assume that because last time he got this or he got that, that vote is secured. I think what we've seen from the delegate and indeed across the constituency is that she is probably much popular than the husband when he was contesting. And also, a number of things have come to play here. Some are the issue of the Idda, the staying at home to observe the Islamic rituals, which you've seen people push it hard, and the call for her not to stand for the election. I think majority of the people and the delegates disagree that she shouldn't contest. So they are on agreement that she has or she can contest. So that is helping her. I think the expectation was that because Nima is 70 or Ayawa is, it's about 74% Muslim. That issue becomes sensitive enough to become a vote loser. We have not seen that pan out in Iowa East. And indeed, there are those who are voting for her because of the way they feel she's being treated.
Musa, what I didn't hear you talk about is whether or not sympathy plays a role here in terms of, she being the wife of the late MP, which is usually being the reason given for widows who take over, so to speak, from their deceased spouses. But in the case of Amina Adams, she seems to have a strong context or a strong background in Ayawaso East itself. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. If you look at elsewhere that we've seen people step into their husband's shoes, they were not political. But Amina has been very politically active in the constituency. Indeed, my understanding is that in the last election, she was the face of the campaign for her husband, who was at the time ill. So she's been known by the constituency, and I believe that is also helping her. So naturally, she was going to perform better from what we've seen than the husband.
Very well. And in what we're seeing, we see Baba Jamal, and if you're listening to us on radio, it's 392.7 FM, but we're projecting aspects of the survey or the poll on our Facebook stream. You can log on and see what I am referring to. Musa, I come back to that poll because Baba Jamal will be next after Amina Adams with 32% of the voter preference share. Why do you think, even though Baba Jamal, with all of his experience as a politician, still lags behind?
I think Lima or Ayawasi is, forgive me, it's a very unique place. And if you listen to the voters, in fact, among the voters, for those who were preferring to vote for Aminata, we asked them whether their decision was influenced in any way by the way they felt he's been treated. over 40% of people who are preferring Amina, of the 58%, are saying that they are doing so because they felt that she's been unfairly treated. So it's a reaction to all the shenanigans that have been going on in the constituency for the past weeks, and that has not played well for her opponent. It's rather strengthened her and put her in a very strong position to win the primaries tomorrow and also win the parliamentary seat come March.
You sound very, very convinced about her win tomorrow. I do want us to look at the methodology and whether or not there could be any surprises tomorrow. I know. So first, let's talk about the methodology. We know that this is very delegates based. Talk to us about how you gathered this data.
Look, we sampled around 907 delegates from Iowa East constituency, and this sample were allocated to the electoral areas according to the weight of the electoral areas. And we placed calls to them randomly over the phone, and we engaged them. And the responses you have seen here is from MBC delegates. And if you look at the data from the delegate views and the general voters, absolutely added them. If you look at the views of NDC voters, what they want is what the delegates are telling us. And we don't believe that NDC delegates will be different from the NDC voters.
With 900 delegates interacted with for this survey, that sounds about 90% or maybe a little less of the over 1,000 delegates who will be voting in this process?
Yes. And for that number, we are fairly confident that the number.
I was going to go there because then how predictive will it be of tomorrow? Are we looking 99%?
Well, as usual, no. It's 99%, and the margin of error is plus or minus 3%.
I see.
I think it's about 3.2%.
No chance of change at all, it would sound.
No. I mean, look, NDC delegates, we've proven this before in terms of their views. Their views more aligned with the NDC general voters. And one thing that's working for Haji Amina is that, look, generally, about 20% of NDC delegates are women. But in Nima, or in our case, it is 33%. And they are voting for her en masse. While the men, the votes are split.
Well, we wish her all the very best, and same to the rest of the contenders in the pack for the NDC Ayawaso East Primary tomorrow. Musa Dankwa, Executive Director, Global Info Analytics, thank you very much for your time this evening. Well, now, we have also been talking to party delegates and supporters. They have been sharing their expectations of tomorrow's polls. Take a listen.
Hearing Musa Dankwa about his polls, why so?
Well, it appears we cannot bring you that at the moment. I apologize for the lack of audio insert for that story. But we can turn attention to an equally important story coming up strongly today. The Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Randy Abbey, has acknowledged a major disruption in the cocoa markets, confirming that tens of thousands of tons of cocoa beans are stranded with farmers due to uncompetitive pricing. Addressing the press conference at Cocoa House in Accra today, Dr. Abbey painted a bleak picture of the current cocoa season, marked by farmer distress, legacy debts, and strained funding model. He disclosed that while Cocoa Board has sold more than 530,000 tons of cocoa for the current season, about 50,000 tons remain with farmers without buyers, a situation he attributed directly to Ghana's non-competitive farm gate price.
Concerns raised by the farmers and what the farmers are going through. We also appreciate the concerns raised by the license buying companies in terms of liquidity and all that. And Cocoa Board, the Ministry of Finance and Government are working together to find a solution to this issue as quickly as possible. The truth of the matter is that we have some liquidity challenges. And as you may be aware, contrary to what some people might make you believe, the crop is financed by buyers. That has been the case from the 24-25 season when we crashed out of the syndicated loan scheme. Under the syndicated loan, which went on for about 32 years, Cocoa Board will sign contracts for the supply of raw beans and then use these contracts as collateral to take the syndicated loans from banks, foreign banks. And then when this loan hits Cocoa Board's accounts, then Cocoa Board will also, out of these funds, give out seed money to the licensed buying companies to buy the cocoa from the farmers on behalf of Cocoa Board. However, Cocoa Board started having some serious financial challenges in 2022 when Cocoa Board was unable to service both the interest and principal of the cocoa bills, and therefore asked for a restructuring of the bills. So there was no wonder that in 23-24, for that season, Cocoa Board struggled in getting the syndicated loan. For the first time, for those of you who followed the Licobac press conference yesterday, you heard them speak about how the first amount of money they received was on the 26th of January in 2024, when the season opened in September of 2023. So that told you that the financial community had become aware of what Cocoa Board's situation was, and there was some reluctance in financing the crop. At the end of the day, Cocoa Board even had to rely on the Ministry of Finance for a $70 million bridge financing to be able to purchase the crop in that same year. And that is a loan that we're expected to pay. So no wonder that was also the season that Cocoa Board could not supply 333,767 tons of the crop that it assigned contracts to supply, and had sold the crop at 2,600. And I'm giving you just this background to put things in context, so that when today some people who were part of this process or superintended this process and believe that we have short memories and therefore can come and capitalize on an unfortunate situation, we should be able to let them know that they are the reason for why we are where we are. And so in the 24-25 season, the financial community was not willing. And that is how come the syndication failed. And because these buyers had close to 400,000 tons.
Dr. Randy Abe is CEO of Cocoa Board. I'll bring in now Stevenson Anane-Boateng, who is the president of the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association. Stevenson, I appreciate your time this evening. Is this explanation enough justification for why the farmers have not been paid? Well, I apologize. We have lost Stevenson over the line. We will work telephone lines and bring Stevenson. In the meantime, we've just heard that government is doing all it can to deal with the financial challenges of the cocoa sector. At the moment, we know that the Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board, Dr. Randy Abe, has acknowledged the major disruption in the cocoa sector. He's confirmed that indeed tens of thousands of tons of cocoa beans are stranded with farmers due to the uncompetitive price. We'll connect now with Stevenson Anane-Boateng, who's the president of the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association. Stevenson, good evening to you. You've heard Dr. Randy Abe. Is his explanation enough for what we're seeing?
Yeah, good evening to everybody and the listeners. In fact, I heard of Randy Abbey speaking about the situation of cocoa sector, and he was explaining some people have a short memory, thinking about the situation, why what has happened has become something that we've forgotten or thought. In fact, I'm surprised to hear these things from him because
why are you surprised?
Since he came to power, what impact has he added to the system? It is the same thing that they are coming to practice. Because when these people came, there was this same thing they told us, giving a whole lot of promises here and there. The syndication was something they have practiced since time immemorial to date. And if it comes to a point where they are defaulted and the whites have agreed not to, sign the contract again, I mean, it's their own fault because the same cocoa board is there. But my worry is that we have these professors and the doctors among the cocoa board team, and they are the researchers as well. So why did they come by that as at now they can't take the financial position well so that this cocoa sector can be better? Because at the end of the day, we can imagine what happened about 2 years ago, 2024. Cocoa shoot up to about $10,000 per metric ton, which was equivalent of 12,000 Ghana cedi per bag. And at that time, they were selling the cocoa, buying the cocoa from us at 2,000 cedis. So the leftovers, where did they put it? It's the same cocoa board administration is managing. Just that the party has changed. But the workers over there are the same. It's just that they changed the CEO.
I see.
So
Stevenson, basically, Stevenson, the reasons, the news conference that the CEO of Cocoa Board gave outlining measures that are being put in place still does not address the concerns of cocoa farmers. Is that correct?
That is why I'm saying, in fact, this time round, it is so disgracing to Cocoa Board, not even to one person or one party, that as at now, we cocoa Board has not even raised a capital seed to buy cocoa. So whatever they tell us is a story, because these things must have done long time ago, because this state, the situation we are in now, it said that the government should have funds to buy the cocoa and stock it, because very soon cocoa will raise up.
Mm-hmm. But the current CEO has explained that he's had to deal and pay off legacy debts, which is one of the things that your farmers benefited from when he came in, talking about how he paid in January of 2026 ports that had been bought from 2023.
But that is their case. That is why I'm saying it's the same thing, because the same cocoa board, the thing that had changed or that has changed is the CEOs. Mwahi Edu is gone, and then Randy Abbey has come. It's the same practice that they are doing. It's the same administration, the same officers are there.
I see. So let's look ahead. We know that the CEO has said the executive, the Cocoa Board itself, and the finance ministry are meeting to come up with a new financing model for the cocoa sector, which is what you have pointed out to be the problem tonight. My question is, one, are you part of this sort of problem solving team, and would it be essential for you to be?
This is not a problem solving. I think so, and I suspect what they are doing is something they are saying to get them free, because this thing had been there a long time, and they should have had a way of trying resolving it as at now, because they have taken even 1 year Why? You see, when this problem started, it started November, I think even October. And now they have sat down until this time that we farmers have become aggrieved. And they are finding a solution to it. What is it for?
Right. So,
They
Stevenson,
should have started it earlier on, before this time. If the administration is good, they shouldn't sit down until somebody come and comment before they become aware of that.
I see, Stevenson. So, talk to me. What will be the best financing model for the sector?
Well, they should find a capital seed to run the business, because every person or every individual who is running their business must have a capital. And then the capital to buy the cocoa, because we cocoa farmers, our worry is we are mandated not to sell our product to anybody apart from Cocoa Board. So it is Cocoa Board responsibility to make sure funds are available anytime, any day, to pay any cocoa farmer who send his cocoa to LPC. Because we are not the people who engage the LPC. It's the Cocoa Board who has engaged them and paying them, giving them money to pay us.
I see.
And once it's a contract, we don't have whether where they get the money from or where they manage to come. It is their responsibility, and we cannot tell them how they should do it.
I see. But what should be clear to them is that you don't want your cocoa beans mortgaged in the syndicated loans.
Well, the syndicated loan is up to them. We farmers, our area of concern is we've sell our cocoa to government, so she should pay us. As to where they will get the money, it's not our problem. It's a contract. We will bring our cocoa because we are mandated. Even if you people will remember, the mandatory issue was binding the cocoa farmers and the government, which Cocoa Board is representing, because we are the people producing the cocoa. Even there, for 47 years, they were also binding by this constitution to provide welfare, and 47 years they overlook it up to date.
Very well.
That is not a worry, because they will not do it, and they are not prepared to do it. When the past government came, he promised and give every tricks to trick us that he is implementing the pension scheme, which is our welfare for us, and it did not come true. So their case is not our case. As to where they get money, that is not our business. Yeah. Our business is they are mandated to pay us, just like we are mandated to sell the cocoa to government. Period. So they own us, they should pay us.
Stevenson, thank you very much indeed. Stevenson Nananebwate is the president of the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association. We've just been looking at the financial constraint in the cocoa sector right now. Away from that, President John Dramani Mahama has announced that Ghana is on a course to exit its International Monetary Fund program by April of 2026, citing significant improvements in key macroeconomic indicators and renewed investor confidence. Speaking at the Ghana-Zambia Business Dialogue in Lusaka, President Mahama said sustained fiscal reforms have stabilized the economy, with inflation easing, foreign reserve strengthening, and confidence gradually returning. Let's take a listen to the president.
Outline Ghana's economic context and the investment opportunities it presents. When my administration assumed office, we inherited significant macroeconomic challenges, just like Zambia. Through decisive reforms, fiscal discipline, and bold policy choices, Ghana has stabilized its economy and restored confidence. Inflation has declined markedly, international reserves have improved, and our credit ratings have been upgraded, signaling renewed global confidence in Ghana's economic management. The Ghana cedi, our currency, has stabilized, and investor sentiments have rebounded. As reflected in rising foreign direct investment, fiscal discipline, we're on track to successfully conclude our IMF program by April 2026, demonstrating our firm commitment to fiscal sustainability, structural reform, and long-term economic transformation. These gains provide a solid foundation for Ghana's development agenda, which is anchored on 5 strategic pillars. 1, industrialization and value addition. 2, export-led growth, 3, modern infrastructure development, 4, strong support for MSMEs, women and youth entrepreneurs, and 5, a predictable, transparent, and investor-friendly business environment.
While in the Zambia, Foreign Affairs Minister Kujito Ablakwa and President John Dramani Mahama are selling the traditional smoke, fugu to the world. President Mahama reveals that he wore the same traditional attire when he addressed the United Nations last September and expressed surprise that the Zambians did not notice that.
Okay, it's called the smoke in English, but in our language, some people call it fugu, some call it batakari. Yeah. Now, this is a traditional dress that is made by a local industry. It's part of our culture. And so, in the past, it was worn by kings, royalty, and also warriors. When our warriors were going to war, they wore smokes. And the belief was that the smokes were soaked in some herbs and then some spiritual thing was done. So when you fire a bullet, it can't penetrate, you know. And so the smoke portrays a lot of things in our culture. And significantly, on the day Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence, on the day our independence was declared, our president, Kwame Nkrumah, was wearing a smoke. He and all the freedom fighters were wearing smoke. So smokes have become an integral part of our cultural identity. And I've won the smoke to the United Nations, the highest platform in this world. I'm surprised that Zambians didn't see me in a smoke last September.
Came closer.
Yeah, when I gave the speech that everybody's talking about, I was wearing a smoke. I'm surprised that they didn't notice it till I visited Zambia. But the smoke weavers in Ghana will be very happy because I, by power of social media, have giving them branding and marketing that they couldn't ever have dreamed of ever getting, and I'm sure that by the time I leave here, the number of searches for fugu, batakari, and smoke, is going to be quite high. And it was just because of an innocuous statement. People were commenting about my arrival, and one person said, "Oh, but what blouse is he wearing?" That's it. And it triggered a whole social media firestorm. But incidentally, you know what? When I arrived, we exchanged gifts, myself and President Chilema. He gave me a beautiful carving, Zambian carving. And I appreciate it very much. I'm going to put it in my office and label it as a gift from President Chilema. And then I gave him a fugu. So what I wore, I gave him one of that. And so he said he's going to order some more.
President John Dramani Mahama with some cultural lessons for Zambian journalists. It's 42 minutes past the hour. It's Hot Edition here with me, Keminni Amanor. I'll take you straight to Parliament because we understand that the House has passed a new bill to establish an authority to implement the 24-hour economy program. Days after the policy document was presented to the House, it was colorful in the chamber when members clad themselves in beautifully woven smock to celebrate the country's rich cultural identity, obviously, in response to what the president experienced in the Zambia. But let's talk largely about the 24-hour economy. Christian Yali is a parliamentary correspondent joining us with details of that bill that is almost a law now. Christian, what can you report from Parliament?
In fact, Keminni, when you look at this bill, it says, and when you look at the long title is the 24-hour economy and accelerated export development program. So what it means is that beyond even the foremost aspects of it, which is about the economy, there are other aspects to this bill which has just been passed. In fact, the first consideration was done yesterday, which supposes that it could have been passed yesterday, but there were few issues with some of the clauses of the bill, and so it had to be referred to the winnowing committee for them to dive a little deeper into the bill and then bring back a report. And so today, the second consideration was done, after which it has been passed. In fact, just a few minutes ago, we had the majority leader, Mahama Yarga, together with the secretariat led by Mr. Guzitando, address the press and indicate that this action gives the bill or even the program or the policy a strong footing for it to be rolled out. So what it means is that all it says, once it receives a presidential assent, it means that the program would continue to be implemented. And also because, Keminni, you know that just about 2 days ago, the policy document, which would more or less serve as the regulatory function to give effect to the implementation of the bill itself, was also presented to the House for the Committee on Economy and Development to look into that as well, which means that in just some few days, possibly around next week, a full debate on the policy would also ensue on the floor. But Keminni, I can talk to you that, like I indicated, beyond economy, it has other aspects. So when you look at the memorandum of the bill, it gives you a better insight. Now, one of the pillars, it has three main pillars, and one of the pillars is the one that talks about production systems development transformation. By this, the program seeks to increase the volume, quality, and diversity of domestic production. Now, there is a second pillar, which is about the development of supply chain and market systems. And then the third pillar, which is about the development labor. So there are a lot when you dive deeper into all of these three significant pillars. Keminni.
Christian, thank you very much. Christian Yali with the latest from Parliament. Now, just before we go, the family of 39-year-old Norbert Anamzoya Akupa is demanding justice following his gruesome killing in the Shirigu forest in the Bogatanga municipality of the Upper East region. The Akupa family is calling for swift investigations and the arrest as well as prosecution of those responsible in order to calm the growing tension in the municipality. There's more.
According to the family, information available suggests the killing was deliberate and well planned. They allege that Norbert was invited on the night of January 30, 2026 by unidentified persons believed to be police officers to assist in a case. The family said Norbert's phone went off about 45 minutes after he left to meet the alleged officers, adding that he was last seen when he decided to honor the invitation. His lifeless body was later discovered the next morning by early commuters along the roadside in the Shirigu forest with his motorcycle and personal belongings found intact. The spokesperson for the family, Bawa Agana Rashid, addressed the media after the burial of Norbert Anamzoya Akupa.
Norbert is 39 years of age, married with 7 children. He had never carried a weapon in his life. And anybody who knows Norbert will confirm this. Never, not even a knife. That is why when he was abducted and murdered, nothing was found on him. We wish to take this opportunity to dispel these wild allegations that he bails criminals at the police station when they are arrested. That is a fallacy and a calculated attempt to give a dog a bad name and hang it. In any case, granted that it is so, which is not the case, who grants the bail? Is it not the same police people? Even the law courts grant criminals bail. So should we say that the lawyers who go to court and seek for bail for alleged criminals are criminals too? Must we kill? The fact is that our brother is an innocent person who was gruesomely murdered by some animalistic characters acting in the alleged name of security.
The family is therefore calling on the police to speed up investigation because they cannot control the growing tension among the agitated youth.
The family demand a full-scale investigation with a view to unraveling the circumstances surrounding the death of our son to ensure that justice is served. We are of the belief that the police know, and by standard security practice, they should be able to identify the bullets used and the security agency that uses those bullets. We expect to see a high-level professionalism and transparency in their investigations.
The police command in the Upper East region off camera say the matter is before them and the culprit will soon be arrested.
That report, read by Eric Mawena Egbeta, is 48 past the hour. Hot Edition continues with some sports and business news. Billy Shen is here with the latest cladding smoke.
Yes.
I should take you to the Zambia.
Yeah, take me to Zambia.
Or maybe we'll just send them pictures of you.
Yeah, I'm part of the protest. You can't tell me that we are wearing blouse. How can you tell me that?
I'm Keminni Amanor. Bye-bye.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Ishen. To our first story, the Ghana Football Association, in consultation with key stakeholders, has strengthened the Black Stars technical setup with 5 experienced additions as preparations intensify for the 2026 World Cup in North America. The move is aimed at improving the competitiveness and building a well-rounded backroom team ahead of the tournament, which will be hosted by Canada, Mexico, and the United States of America. The following 3 Sports report has more.
So the Ghana Football Association has announced 5 key additions to the technical team of the Black Stars ahead of the 2026 World Cup. Now, key amongst them all is Black Queens head coach Keminni joining Otuado as an assistant coach. That does not mean he will not continue with his role as a Black Queens head coach. Remember that he is coming with a lot of experience, having guided the Black Queens to the last Women's Africa Cup of Nations where we won bronze, and he will be hoping at guiding them again in March to the Women's World Cup in Brazil. That will be massive for the Queens. He is coming in. Also, we have French tactician, that is Alan Rivera, joining the team as an assistant coach. He is coming with a wealth of experience, having worked with the Guinean national team and also League One outfit AS Monaco. Then we also have a new video analyst, that is Jose Daniel Martinez Alfonso. He is from Spain and currently works with MLS side Atlanta FC. Also, we have a new physiotherapist, not too new because he was there when the Black Stars went to the World Cup in Qatar. That is Carlos Lozano Romero, and he is returning to his role as the team physiotherapist. But the performance coach is a new person who has not been in the capacity before. That is British-born Ghanaian Dwayne Piesa Pakwesi, who will now will be tasked with conditioning and player optimization. That is big for him. But the likes of John Pinto will still continue with their role. Desmond Ofer will also continue as an assistant coach. So the Black Stars will have 4 assistant coaches together with Otuado, who is the head coach. And all these coaches will be bringing their wealth of experience to ensure Ghana performs better in the World Cup, because we've been drawn in a group that contains England, Croatia, and Panama.
So that was a report by my colleague, that is Mutala Yakubu. Of course, now that means that we have 5 assistant coaches for the Black Stars and 4 Otuado ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Elsewhere in Europe, Manchester United will be looking to make it 4 out of 4 wins under interim manager Michael Carrick when they face Spurs in the Premier League on Saturday. Despite a brilliant start under Carrick, the United interim head coach says he's wary of the threats Spurs possess.
Certainly bring a challenge. I think you can see especially the way they finished the game the other day, and they've had over a period of time players injured and ins and outs, and a lot of changes to the team, which makes things a lot more challenging, a lot more difficult from their perspective. But getting players back, and they've got good attackers, really good attackers that look to stretch the back line and play forward and attack the box an awful lot. So it's something we certainly got to be aware of, and slightly different game to maybe what we've played over recent weeks in some ways, but we're looking forward to it. We're in a good place, and boys have worked well again this week. Again, feet on the ground. Let's not get carried away with what's gone on, but it's about what's next again. So big challenge ahead.
That was Michael Carrick, the interim manager of Manchester United. His opposite number, Thomas Frank, has praised Carrick for bringing out the best of Manchester United so far.
Yeah, I think he's had a great start. Seems like there was injected a little bit of energy or whatever into the team. And I think it looks like some of the players are they are in a good place. We know the threats. I also think the post before from Brian and Burmo, Ahmad, Cunha, and we know Fernandes is getting this team ticking. He's done that the last 4 or 5 years. It's been incredible. So it's a threat. It's a challenge.
That was Thomas Frank, the head coach of Tottenham Hotspur. That's all for the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Bill Ishen. We'll pivot to the business news with Menu Afo.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Chief of Staff urges African nations to bridge the gap between finance and enterprise. My name is Minuafo. We have details of this headline and more coming up shortly. Please stay. Now to the first story. Chief of Staff Julius Deborah has issued a declaration call to African leaders and financial institutions to aggressively align available capital with local enterprises to spark a continental industrial revolution. Speaking on Friday, February 6 at the 2026 Africa Prosperity Dialogue held at the Pejasi Lodge, Deborah emphasized that Africa's path to self-reliance depends on moving beyond lofty rhetoric and into the realm of tangible economic outcomes.
First, we must align finance with enterprise. Africa needs patience, development-oriented capital that understands the realities of SMEs, support innovation and reward growth. Capital must meet credible businesses, and credible businesses must be equipped to absorb investment and scale regionally. Second, we must build trade capability at scale. Export readiness, standards of compliance, digital trade literacy, and logistics efficiency are no longer optional. They are a must. They are prerequisites for competitiveness in a continental market. Third, we must make integration visible and tangible. When women lead enterprises and youth-led startups successfully trade across borders, they create confidence and momentum. They turn continental policy into lived experience.
And now Ghana has recorded its lowest inflation rate in nearly 3 decades, with headline inflation dropping to 3.8% in January 2026. This marks a significant decline from the 5.4% recorded in December 2025 and the 13th consecutive month of easing prices. Government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu has described the milestone as a signal that the country is firmly on the path to macroeconomic stability.
The data tell a very clear story. Inflation has fallen sharply and consistently over the year. Price pressures are easing across most components of the CPI. While challenges remain, particularly in some regions and food categories, the overall trend is positive. This creates space for planning, confidence, and recovery. For government, it's important to sustain the fiscal discipline, continue efforts to stabilize food prices, and invest in storage, irrigation, transport, and market access to reduce regional disparities. For businesses, easing inflation provides room to invest in efficiency, strengthen local supply chains, reduce unnecessary costs, and translate savings into more stable prices for consumers. For households, this is a good time to plan budget with greater confidence. Prioritize essentials, avoid non-essential spending, and save where possible.
That was government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu, and that will be your business news on Hot Edition tonight. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's www.3news.com. I am Minu Afo.